Everybody, Ryan O'Halloran along with Phillip Heilman, Florida Times Union. We're in the Dungeon Media Room at Everbank Field. We're going to do a quick Facebook Live for the next 10-15 minutes or so. We're nearing 48 hours until the lid lifter in Foxborough, so submit your questions here, and while you do that, we'll talk about a couple things. Outside of practice, a no padded practice today. Tayshaun Gibson, the free safety, did have a helmet and will be listed as some kind of participant. My guess is he'll be listed as limited, and then will be listed as questionable to play. That would lead into him starting on Sunday. But Jared Wilson better be ready. He played the last 34 snaps of the Pittsburgh game, and maybe they give him a little bit of look if they feel Gibson cannot go the whole way, maybe on a little bit of a pitch count. But of greater news that's developing is Tom Brady. Was injured in practice Wednesday, did not practice Thursday. That would be Brian Hoyer was taking the first team snaps. Last time we saw Brian Hoyer, he was starting for Cleveland in 2014. That was Blake Bortles' first win.
Was Brian Hoyer, I think he was on the Texans team that beat the Jags in the season finale 2 years ago.
Maybe so. I get those T.J. Yateses and Brian Hoyers and
There's
Brandon
so many
Whedons,
mediocre quarterbacks that have done it
mixed up. But so that's the last time I remember seeing Hoyer. He's been around.
Let's just take a little look-see here.
Shannon says we got this game in the bag. Well, that's a confident attitude. I would not be running to Vegas with that pick.
Yeah, January 3rd, 2016. Hoyer was the quarterback when Houston beat the Jaguars 30-6. He was 25 of 40, 1 touchdown, 1 reception, 249 yards. So obviously a much different Jaguars defense than back then.
Yeah, that was the swan song of defensive coordinator Bob Babbage. He was fired a couple days later, replaced by Todd Wash. I expect Brady to play. He have a glove on. He does not normally do that, so maybe an adjustment there. And hey, let's face it, when you know where the injury is,
go for it.
You hit him.
Yep.
This is pro football. This isn't flag where you just have to, not hit anybody. So I can change. Does it change the dynamic of this game? It doesn't for me until I'm forced to say it does. That's a cop-out answer. That's something our columnist would say. But
I didn't laugh at that. John did.
Yeah. Oh, send me to my office.
The one thing I think with the thumb injury, more so than maybe even Brady throwing the ball, is you wonder if you can't put quite as much pressure on it, does that make him more vulnerable to a strip sack, which is obviously Yannick Ngakoue's, art.
That's a good point. Also, there's a limit in taking shots downfield where you have to grip it and rip it, as the phrase goes. Who knows what the injuries mean? Do they have to worry about stitches popping out if it actually was a cut? Such
a weird story. How does that even happen? I mean, a handoff and you get your... I mean, it sounds like a dislocated thumb to me.
Yeah.
But, how bad do you have to dislocate something to end up with a cut?
And then the bad part would be to show you is let's say he split the webbing here.
Yeah.
I mean, that's more likely to, split open. The person, but we don't know the identity of the person he ran into. That person will be currently at the bottom of Boston Harbor.
Yeah.
But Shannon feels
decoy,
it's a decoy to throw us off. I don't think they would waste the amount of time they have on this and put Brian Hoyer through this and have players answer questions about it. Tom Brady is a creature of habit. He loves to practice. Yeah,
there's no way he would miss a practice just for the sake of...
Especially this week.
Granted, this is a good Jaguars defense, but the Patriots aren't that worried to concoct a whole scheme, even as much as the conspiracy theorists might wish.
Yeah. So what do we have in the paper today? I can't remember. I looked at it at 6:30 this morning.
We had Malik Jackson. We had John's look at the
defense.
Cornerbacks and defense. Yeah. I saw. Let me stand on my soapbox for 1 minute here.
Wait. Just a second, people. He's going to go after the honorable mayor of Jacksonville, Florida.
This is a bipartisan rant about our mayor sticking his nose in business that it doesn't really belong. Tweeting out, yawn, our guys took care of business on offense and defense in regard to John Reed's story, which was finely written. I'll just have you know, Pittsburgh had 545 yards of offense, which was 8th most in playoff history since the 1970 merger.
The basis of the story was the defense gave up 460 yards passing. That can't happen again. They need to bounce back. Everything wasn't okay, Mayor.
Hopefully he knows more about the details of the pension than he does football. We wouldn't really know.
That is a bipartisan statement.
Well, we wouldn't know because he won't give any details. But anyhow.
I hope he has a good seat on the charter. But let's talk about the defense for a second. They do need to bounce back. I mean, yes, those guys had good coverage on some of those touchdowns, but I also had them for 13 missed tackles, which is a season high. They had free yards after the catch, after they had initial contact in the run game. Anytime this defense has not played up to snuff, they have bounced back the next week, and that's what I would expect to happen. Jake has a question.
What's the matchup on Sunday that not enough people are talking about, flying under the radar? So
I'll tell you what, we've covered every dang base here in the paper this week. If they had a backup long snapper, we'd probably be talking to him today. But if you had to really dig for a matchup, it's the Patriots' defensive front doesn't get a lot of attention, but can Ricky Jean-Francois, can James Harrison, can they cause some problems in the run game? Can Harrison set that edge? Can Francois handle Brandon Linder? The Jaguars got back to their recipe last week with their run game. They had their most rushing yards since week 7. If they rush 35 times again on Sunday, chances are they're going to the Super Bowl, so that's what they want to do. So they're trying to sort of answer that. Well, Clarence, I ain't going to brag, but you're going to, Clarence. I got faith in my Jags. We've been down too long. Well, several accurate statements there. They have been down too long. You should have faith in your Jaguars, and you were bragging.
I wonder, on Sunday in Pittsburgh, they took a deep shot to Marquise Lee, which it didn't work. There wasn't a completion, just an incomplete pass. But you haven't seen a ton of that this year, to Marquise Lee in particular.
Yeah. I mean, they took 4 deep shots against the Steelers and completed that last one. They were going left or right? So it was at our end when they threw it in the double coverage there.
Yeah.
I think you have to take some shots regardless of the receiver just to see how the Patriots play it. You figure they're going to put Patrick Chung close to the line of scrimmage, probably McCourty is their single high. So, I'm all for deep shots. Ben goes Jack versus Gronk on Sunday. I think you're going to see that. I think you're going to see Jack. I think you're going to see Telvin. You think you're going to see Ramsey. I think you're going to see Boye. I think you're going to see Gibson. That's how much Gronk moves around the formation. And Amber's got a question or a
wonder what smear campaign Jags will come up with. I don't know what that means.
I'm not sure what that means.
Ty Harden, how do you think Tommy Bohannon could be used Sunday? Also think Miles Jack can cover Gronk. I do think Miles Jack can cover Gronk to some extent. I think they should bracket him quite a bit, particularly if Gibson's healthy. Maybe a little bit of Barry Church. But in terms of athletic linebackers, it's hard to find 2 in the league who stack up with Miles Jack and Telvin Smith. That's about as good as you're going to get at that position covering Gronkowski.
And I specifically like those linebackers against Deion Lewis and James White, which is what Phillip has in tomorrow's paper. It'll be online later today. All these horizontal passes to White and Lewis on the perimeter, that plays right into Miles and Telvin's tracking. That's one thing that Bill Belichick talked about earlier this week is what impressed him about the linebackers for the Jaguars is, they know they're fast, but the anticipation and the ball skills, they know where the ball is going and they get there in a bad mood. And then Tommy Bohannon, I'm the worst at guessing Bohannon's role. It literally goes week to week. He can play 20 snaps one week, 5 the next. You look at the run game, when they did go a little heavy, they had a little bit more success than they normally have, so maybe that will entice them to use the fullback as a lead blocker a little bit more.
Corey Grant, probably not much in the run game for Corey Grant, but you never know when they might break out a fake punt.
And here's the thing about the running backs.
My thumb on the screen. My thumb's on. Well, I was trying to read it at one point.
Yeah, we're trying to move the screen, Kevin, like that.
Come on, Kevin. Why don't you come move the screen for us, Kevin?
So Ben's point about Corey Grant, I would activate Chris Ivory because you're playing with fire last week when Fournette got hurt, and deactivate a linebacker or something like that. So with Fournette being limited in practice this week, I would keep that Ivory option open. Ty goes, think we speed special teams trick play. That would be my best bet of the weekend. This team has run them during the regular season. I think they had one in their pocket last week in case they needed it. I'm pretty sure of that.
Yeah.
And so I think Doug Marrone's going to try and steal a possession on the road. If I'm him, I do it early. When if you don't make it, it's not a catastrophe. Instead of you try and run it in the second half to stay in the game.
Jadon Mickens. I think we might have seen the end of Jadon Mickens. It looked like D.D. Westbrook was fine as a punt returner last week. I don't know.
Yeah, and it all depends on their roster math. I mean, would you rather have Jadon Mickens or Chris Ivory active as an extra back? I'd probably go with Ivory.
Yeah.
Julio.
Hand injury. I think he definitely does have a hand injury. As we kind of said, Brady doesn't miss practice just to miss practice. I really think they know what they've got to do. Still picking Jags and Vikings. Hey, Jags Vikings, that would play right into you.
I'm rooting for the Vikings. And Clarence, to your point, is they do know what they do know what it takes. They have a very specific way of winning these games, and they're going to carry that out. And I thought Todd Wash did something yesterday. I think he's playing a little possum, saying Jalen Ramsey's going to be assigned the receivers. Well, the way Gronk lines up, sometimes he won't have a choice.
Yeah.
Those guys are going to run into each other at some point. Drew, where's Drew there?
Is Gibson likely to start? If he can play, he's going to start. Yeah.
He was out there today, Drew. Ty, who in the Pats is under the radar, worries most about the offense?
I don't know if Deion Lewis is under the radar. I think Danny Amendola is a guy who, just the way he's so crisp and sharp with his routes.
Lines up in the slot. I mean, maybe let's go with Burkhead. He hasn't played in a couple weeks.
Yeah,
what kind of plan does McDaniels have for him back in the lineup? Tom Coughlin, MVP? No.
Defense, I'd say, I think Leonard Fournette acted like he'd never bet him before in his life, but I think Trey Flowers, an Arkansas guy, could have an impact on the game. Anyhow, looks like that's all the questions. We're about at noon, so thanks again for watching. You can always read our stuff on Jacksonville.com and in the Florida Times-Union, and we'll be heading to Foxborough tomorrow.
Should we do the people want a Periscope of the drive to the stadium again? And that'll be on Phillip's Twitter, right?
My Twitter, yeah.
So we'll pile in the SUV and try not to swear at the Boston traffic. Let me check Twitter here real quick.
All right.
No questions there. How about you?
No, I think we're in good shape there. So, all right, guys. Well, thanks for watching.
See ya.